Good evening. It's April 27th, 2022. Excuse me. Welcome back to BoomerRexTonight, your nearly daily source for news and politics. I'm RisenLadyHeathen, and
I'm an asshole.
there, we are missing our Boomer this evening. So, boo.
Yeah.
Um, so, you eat, sleep, and breathe politics, and
That's
I'm
true.
learning. That's two unique perspectives we share tonight, along with the facts from our literal round table.
Right?
Tonight we are going to be discussing, finally, Empress Dowager Cixi. I've been saying six. It's Cixi. I'm probably not pronouncing that properly, so I apologize. But I chose the route of least resistance, and decided not to do research into that. All right, so let's dig into our headlines here. You got your notes from
Boomer tested
Mr.
and asshole
Boomer.
approved.
All right. Parasite instead
yeah.
of a tongue.
Yeah, no. So apparently Boomer hadn't known about the isopod parasites.
It was funny. I read this and I looked at him and I said, "You know that this isn't a new thing." Right?
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I know. It just he had never
It's new
heard
to
of
him.
it." And I was like, "Oh, I've known about that for a long time." But also I'm like super into fish and stuff. So I would be more likely to stumble across that, I imagine. Anyway,
Fair.
continue.
There will not be any more Hurricane Idas. We're retiring the name.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us about the parasite.
That's all there is.
Well, literally, what happens is the fish, the parasite will bite the tongue, eat the tongue, and become the tongue of the fish.
Fair.
Not healthy for the fish, but
Survivable.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Anyway, and then no more hurricanes named Ida.
Yep. We're retiring the thing.
We're retiring Ida, so because of that big Ida hurricane. Minneapolis police engages in racial discrimination.
It's another time where we looked and found them. We'll see what we do with it. Right, it's the standard found disparities in how officers used force and conducted traffic stops when they engaged with black motorists compared to the white ones. Right, the usual not recording the names of people when it got out of hand, or the races of people when it got out of hand, because that helps hide the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, we'll find out. We'll see if we do anything with this, but at least now we've got the data for it. Like, we can actually start looking at some numbers and at least discussing what we should do. That maybe this is a bad thing. We should fix this in some way.
This doesn't sound good. Yeah.
Or fuck up in some new way, guys. Like, it'd be interesting. We could have fun with it. Like, make the frat boys scared to go to fucking clubs. I don't know. Just spin the wheel, land on someone else.
Yeah. All right. Reliable Robotics will develop autonomous aircraft.
Yes, this is my fucking jam. No, we're gonna love this. Because basically it's gonna be airframe independent. So you can just put it in any of the flying things.
Mm-hmm.
And it will then fly it.
Neat.
So, and as with all of this, the fact that they're building some means we're going to learn a lot really fast. I remember how quickly we learned how people want to interact with their cell phones.
Right.
Right, from no idea on like early touches and stuff like that. Right, iPod touches on up, and now we're really freakishly good.
Right.
So.
All right. We're just flying through these tonight. Boomer Rex is about damn time, as told by asshole.
Yes, this is the fucking Teddy Daniels.
Teddy Daniels, yeah.
Yep. Got hit with a restraining order and is banned from going to his house. I was shitty to his family and the family dog. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, don't threaten the family dog, especially not in front of children. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Don't be an abusive asshole. And this guy has a history. His ex-wife was also saying that he was abusive towards her as well. So this isn't a new thing. Don't vote for this guy. No bueno.
Yep. Oh, fuck. I forgot about the mass arrests. What's up?
Yeah. Dumbass of the day.
Yep. Liz Harrington went to the fucking QAnon conference and is advocating for the mass arrests of everyone who was involved in the stealing of the election and nonsense. And I love that during the course of it, one of the things she's worried about is they're going to start arresting their political opposition or opponents. Okay.
Yeah, because they're doing the crimes. If you don't do the
She's
crimes,
advocating exactly that. You can't be like, we must stone them to death before they stone us to death. Like, wait, what the fuck, man? How about nobody stone nobody?
Yeah. There, yeah. That's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah, no, this is.
Oh
but
God.
no, we should have had this closer to the tongue parasite thing because it's going to feed into all of the
I like that time.
just right
That was a good time.
nonsense. The feeling of, yeah, there is a giant conspiracy out to get you because there kind of is. It's just Jeff Bezos and the other thing. And no, it's not particularly well coordinated. It's just the very rich need the very poor to get poor so they can get richer.
Mm-hmm. Faux show. All right. Russia threatens to retaliate against Japan. What?
Yeah, we had a joint exercise with Japan, and Russia rattling its saber at Japan as though, like, okay. Yeah. Well, it can be a threat to Japan, maybe. Like, here's the problem about having stumbled out on the stage and falling down.
Big.
Like, your military just came apart. What the fuck? You really don't think you'd win in Japan, do you?
Here's the thing. I think Russia's gonna fuck around. Or, excuse me, let's be specific.
Continue to fuck
Putin
around.
is going to continue to fuck around and is gonna fucking find out and be very unhappy about it.
Their behavior is getting to a point where, like what we did to the Germans after World War One, like, we can punish their whole military for this. Or at least all the ones who were attached to, right? Because the war crimes are getting to a scale and a complexity that this isn't onesies and twosies.
Do you think there is potential that things get bad enough in Russia that Russia takes care of the problem for us?
I think that's what literally everyone is hoping happens, because right now I can't imagine a route home for Russia where Putin stays in power.
Agreed.
Right, we can't ever let them back in the G8. We can't we should be talking about throwing them out of the UN or throwing the UN out and making a new one.
Quick question. I don't know this off the top of my head. Do you, is Japan part of NATO?
No. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. They're part of a similar, right, Pacific Pact, I am sure.
All right, so I want to look into that to see if we have some sort of connection that we definitely can defend them.
We're tied into that for having said they couldn't have a military for the longest time, but some of that's coming off.
Well, and again, I feel like, Russia keeps poking at people who we are more than willing to defend. And I know that Norway is particularly nervous with their closeness to the whole debacle. So, we'll see. Anyway, Russia cuts gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria.
And it's SEATO. Well, SEATO.
Oh, interesting.
So
it's like NATO.
Yeah. Well, that may be the south of the land anyway. No. Yeah, Russia is making a huge mistake because this is the kind of thing that that Europe was always afraid of in getting into business with Russia. Mm-hmm. Is that Russia would, right? Europe can't have the fuel shut off in winter.
Right.
Right. Their populations will die at a rate they will be required to go to war to stay in charge.
Right.
Right. This is right. You have now hit a phase where your country's going to war with this other country. If you would like your government not to be toppled by all of your people making the same decision on the same day,
right,
you're gonna have to scramble to be at the front of that pack. So, it's an insane move on Russia's part.
No, I think that Russia is just making mistake after mistake after mistake in this whole debacle, because what they should have done was, with their invasion and just focused on Ukraine and nothing else.
Yep.
Like when other people were saying, like whatever, just ignore it, just focus on your thing. But they can't just focus on the one thing.
I heard good speculation that this all came apart
all over the place
very early on, the airport they were attempting to take with the Spetsnaz, where the Ukrainians just ate their lunch, killed a shit ton of choppers with all the dudes in the air. And that would make sense based on where they've been recently, right? The kind of army you would get if you learned all of your modern lessons out of Chechnya,
Right.
would be incredibly brutal assault forces. And literally, we're back to anybody can be your blocking force, right? Idiots with a pickup truck and some guns.
Right.
You just need enough people to sit across the road going, you're not going down the road without having a shootout here first.
Right.
So, and that would kind of fit with what they've got. So, I don't know how we tell a story that these are either what Russian soldiers are like, right? The war crimes and the rapes and the murders and the... Or something came horrifically apart in the Russian war machine, and we're going to need to hang people by the truckload.
I really feel like Putin encouraged this,
I'm sure.
With his rewarding of the main groups doing the war crimes,
Exactly.
giving them medals and such, so special patches and that sort of thing.
But if this is their model, then they don't, right, we should not allow them to partake of global trade anymore.
Well, yeah. No.
Right, we should enforce a blockade. We should start doing some real, right, like some North Korea level shit.
No, and again, I feel like we are at a point in society as a whole in the world where, like, we all have our own little corners of the world or whatever, and we're all kind of working on how to make sure that everybody's getting food and water and electricity.
I thought we had all agreed we weren't going to make any more major changes to the map.
So I feel like Russia trying to fuck around and take more land and try to seriously, like, kind of go back to, like, World War II thought processes is... It's crazy. It really is. It's insane.
Well, and
why would you poke the fucking bear, man? Like...
And... this is not me thinking America's hands are clean when it comes to war crimes.
God,
We got the Europeans had decided to bomb German cities before they bombed London. It was just a happy
way too
thing.
long in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran for absolutely fucking no purpose. No purpose.
No, Iran was
at all.
Installing the Shah and helping the British.
Right, and what good has that done us?
Oh, that worked out real bad.
That's my point. Like, everything we've done has turned to shit. Like, fucking leave it alone, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, our cat is playing with some, old packing paper, and it's very distracting. Anyway, so let's move on. Biden considers student debt reduction, and GOP says no way.
Oh, yeah, no, they're freaking out about it because... Yeah,
because Republicans don't care about you people. Remember this. They don't want America to work for all Americans. They want America to work for the top 0.05% of people. That's what they want.
Republicans don't care about people who need loans for going to college.
Nope.
And so my advice, the idea they floated is somewhere between around $10,000. It would cancel. That's half of the median, right? A little less than half of the median college debt. Fine. Since I think you're going to get whacked either way, and they're already trying to pass a law that says no, you can't. I'd go for all of it.
Yeah.
Right.
At this point, I'd say, here's the figure. You said whatever. We're going for all of it.
Well, and at some level, I think the American government's concern when it comes to student loans is they want to invest in student loans because that will put you in higher tax brackets, and you will be more productive. Or at least that's been the theory for the longest of times. So... Right, we don't need to make money on both ends, especially when we're not the one making the money on student loan debt. The bank, who literally is sitting in the middle with the U.S. government as the enforcement arm, who they know your social security number. For real. Like, they know whenever it gets entered into a thing. So, no, the way we've done student loan debt was dumb and was done to enrich bankers, and at some level, we should just say, fuck them. Because it won't even, right, what it will damage is their future projected earnings. It's not even like we're actually hurting their income.
No, not even a little bit.
So, just
all right.
madness.
No, and again, this is just another way for Republicans to try to keep the rest of us in our quote-unquote place. And it's just ridiculous. Okay. Texas repeatedly misled public about
numbers,
Operation Lone Star.
Yeah. You can always tell it's bullshit when it's got too good of a name. Real operations would be things like bubblegum. Oh, anyway.
Operation Lone Star seriously sounds like something straight out of
Well, it's gonna be all high speed and cool and
Lone Star.
right.
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
There you go. No, they arrested 700 gang members, and yeah, no, not so much.
That had nothing to do with this money. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a huge seizure of meth, 887 pounds in El Paso, where they hadn't signed on to get the extra money for the extra. Nope. So
nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's just more bullshit games. Right, they've announced they're going to charter more buses to drop off illegal immigrants in Washington, D.C., and not so much. So, average count, 45 passenger bus is 18 immigrants per bus. So, good job getting them out of Texas, where they could have made Texas some money. Like, immigrants work hard.
Yeah.
Crazy hard. Wildly harder than anyone who's born here and feels like, there's rules. Right, turns out if you grew up somewhere that has less rules, you will like the new ones when you get there. Like, just dumb.
Yeah, sounds it. All right, health talk with asshole.
Yeah.
Now tell me about this.
We'll see. It's in China, so I'm always a little iffy on the numbers. But they've recorded their first human infection with H3N8 strain of bird flu in the country's Henan province. And that was on Tuesday. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get an interesting plague. The thing to remember about some of the bird flus is they've got, numbers up in the 20s and 30% for some strains of fatality.
Right.
So
you got to keep an eye on this one.
I would be unbelievably unsympathetic that we just came out of baby practice first dress up, not really a bad pandemic. Killed 1 million of us. That's scary, 1/3%. But if we could then fuck it up and be like, no, I don't believe in it. We're gonna do the
Spanish flu style, yeah.
No, it's gonna be like when Florida gets warned about a hurricane and then nothing happens, and so the next one I was like, I'm staying, and they're all gone afterwards.
Everybody gets fucking wiped off the map.
Yeah, so I'm vaguely worried about that more than anything else.
Oh yeah, this is gonna turn into a real thing if something like this does develop into a real problem. I'm not sure.
Well, and it's not
be able to stop it.
Just because a lot of things shut down for COVID doesn't mean everything did, right? A lot of Ebola is taking the same walks. I'm talking about
COVID,
I'm talking about there's an Ebola outbreak currently in. I have to go look, but it's the standard small number.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We've got one case. It's not ballooning up crazy style. So, no, all the diseases are still out and about and looking to mutate. So,
now would one of these bird flus would masks help with something like a bird flu?
A lot of it depends on where it's going to be sitting in the respiratory system, and so it would depend mostly on the flu. But unlikely to hurt, and until we get a vaccine up and running, it'd be what there was.
So we'd basically, if something like this became a real issue, safest bet might be if whatever, to go to original COVID standpoints as far as masking and social distancing and
that'd be a good spot to start. Just if you start hearing there is another pandemic going around, even if it's just an endemic in wherever,
wear your mask and tell people to back the fuck up off you. I remember that. I remember being it took me a while. I'm still uncomfortable out in public when people stand too close to me in line and that sort of thing. That's why I pretty much, no matter how little things I want to get, I will pretty much always try to have a carriage so that I can keep the carriage between
We've gotten pretty good at keeping the carriage distance apart, and that's what you needed. And most of what the problems are going to be are your subways and your standard places where you have to have people close together.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see. A more developing story than, oh no, everybody run away.
Right. All right.
But do send us all your money.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Airship.
Yeah, we want an airship, so don't forget to hit up our Facebook at BoomerRexTonight, no spaces, and find a link to our Patreon there.
Okay, fair.
Okay, so let's move on to updates with I wrote down BoomerRex asshole updates with asshole climate
I
warning.
saw this morning and knew it was going to be on the show. So the gigantic water supply doesn't help me. So Southern California's water supplier has told their users that they can water 1 day a week. That they are going to severe rationing.
And where is this again?
Southern California.
Oh,
It's going to cover Los Angeles, Ventura, and San Bernardino counties.
right. But my point is that so my thought process is this should be going towards farms that are growing unnecessary, like almonds,
this is the...
pecans, like small things that tend to take lots of water to grow. Those should be cut first, I feel like.
Loads of things should be.
Yeah.
So, this one they're gonna do because this is the big city
because that's
one.
where you're gonna save the most water.
I'd have to see the actual numbers of footage per water, water footage per acre versus city versus agricultural use. Because I agree, plants use a great shit ton, but you get one tall apartment building, it's a gallon per human per day. And that's a low number, right? Because you're also, every time the toilet flushes, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, no, the fact that they're at least taking it seriously. A couple of years back, we were worried about Lagos running out of water. So, and that's one of the mega cities of 20-odd million. So.
Isn't Nevada, Las Vegas running out of
Vegas
water?
is fucked.
Yeah.
Yep. As I vaguely recall, they had sunk the last pipe they can to get water out of Lake Mead. Lake Mead? Maybe Powell. I don't know.
All right. So are we ready to move on to our powerful women of history?
That was fun. I'm glad I got to help with this.
Yeah, no, I think that was better than just holding off on it. I think that was fun to have you tell his stories.
No, I was just talking about helping with this thing.
Oh, the Empress Dowager Cixi? Yep. Okay, so Empress Dowager Cixi, she was born in November 29th in 1835, and she died...
thing that makes it hard to keep notes.
She died November 15th in 1908.
Fuck that shit. She's still on the moon hanging out with...
She might be, you don't know.
JFK Jr.
Okay, so I have a ridiculously long list of different sources that I went to. So Smithsonian.com, Amanda Fiegel did an article called Cixi, the Woman Behind the Throne. HistoryHit.com, Lucy Davis did an article, Who Was Empress Dowager Cixi? ChinaHighlights.com, Facility Jiang also did an article called Empress Dowager Cixi. TheCollector.com, Ching Yi Lin, did an article called Empress Dowager Cixi, Rightly Condemned or Wrongly Discredited. Britannica.com was written by the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica, and it was called Cixi, Empress Dowager of China. And then, of course, the Wikipedia of Empress Dowager Cixi, and ThoughtCo.com, Callie Pansky, wow, did an article called Cixi, Empress Dowager of Cheng, China. So those are all of my sources. Again, this woman, her entire life is very much shrouded in mystery. There's not a lot of records, so we don't know her actual birth name. We don't know, much prior to her going. Anyway, so let's get into
1840 something. Oh, I don't remember how many years. Yeah, I'll let you go.
So part of the reason there are so many wildly different thoughts on the Empress Dowager is because after her death, a man wrote a book, and then sent articles to newspapers that are now thought to be mostly or completely false. So lots of misinformation, is out there floating around about her. A lot of Europe would write articles on her without having any information because this information didn't even exist. There's no records of a lot of this.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard. But there is some information that is generally agreed upon-ish. So I'm gonna try to stick to the very basics because and it makes me sad because she led a very interesting life, and I would love to go into all the different possibilities of how her life played out and blah blah blah, but it would just take me forever because she's a fascinating woman from the standpoint of who knows, like you could make up your own story about her and probably be closer to the truth than all the stuff I've read.
Had a big enough impact that she couldn't be easily erased.
Well, she is known even in China to this day and around the world as the most powerful Empress Dowager in all of China's history. Yep. She controlled the entire end basically of the Qing dynasty.
Yep.
Which is pretty crazy.
And so China didn't invent some other story that conveniently forgot about her. Because, unlikely the population accepts that, Europeans aren't taking a lot of notes because a lot of what's going on in China at this period is somewhere between evil and batshit insane.
Oh yeah, no, there was a lot of stuff going on. So let's get into our story a little bit here, and I want you to jump in when you remember something, or if you had found another view, because I had him help me out with this, because again, there's just so much. So let's get into this. Yehi Nara Jingzhen was born to a part of the Manchu family that was very influential. And at 16, she was given to Emperor Jingfang as a concubine. And in 1856, she birthed the emperor's first son after climbing the ranks inside the Forbidden City, which is where emperors were known to keep their concubines, and gaining favor with the emperor, who found her intelligent and witty. I'm saying that because I read I've read a million articles about this woman, and some of them say, oh, he heard her singing and that drew him to her, all kinds of stuff.
This is where we get into the mythology.
Right, this is where it gets weird. So some people say that she was in a harem of in a harem of a dozen to hundreds of women. And other people say that this particular emperor kept a particularly small harem. So
this is the nice thing about this period of history, that you could be fairly sloppy in and just tell whatever story you needed to convey the other side of the morality tale you're going to tell.
Right. And I think one of the whole concepts of, the fact that people saying maybe he had hundreds is because one of the things that did happen with Cixi is that a lot of Europeans were saying that she came from this bad family, which is not true. She came from a very good family, and that is in fact, that is evidence. And that, her father was a drunk and she was a slut and blah, blah, blah. And that's how she ended up as a concubine. That's not how it worked back then. That's not how it worked in China.
No, but that's how it played well on, the streets of old London town.
Exactly. So again.
And it's what we said about everywhere the British were at this point. Right? They were horribly corrupt and bad, and that's why they needed white people in charge.
Right. And she birthed a son.
Colonists are bullshit.
He found. I have found several different reports of the son's name, before he later took the throne. So we're gonna go with Zayachun, whatever. And anyway, so her son, while the Second Opium War raged, so that was from 1856 to 1860.
Remember, the Europeans introduced opium to fuck China up.
Yeah.
So
the summer palace, much beloved by the emperor, was looted and burned. Now, there's on and off. Again, this is one of those mixed things where it was said that prior to this happening, he was showing signs of dementia and such, and then after this happened, he began drinking heavily, doing drugs heavily, and just kind of lost himself. But anyway, no matter how you look at it, it sent him into a deep depression, which ultimately led to his death. Conflicting reports on Zhifang's statements of succession while in his deathbed can be found in almost every article I read. Either way,
remember this is also an empire that soon falls.
Right. Either way, Zai Shun, at 5 years old, was decided as next in line for the throne, with 8 people ruling in his stead till he came of age. Empress Nuhuru, Zhifang's wife, and Cixi were jointly given the title of Empress's Dowager. So now they are both Empress Dowagers. This gave each of them a royal seal. Initially, it was thought that this was just a nicety, but it could be used to depose a decree if the ladies refused to stamp it, which transformed into them having some real power, which was not the intention. So this allowed Cixi and her friend to basically rule unopposed and make decisions and such. So Cixi and Prince Gong, the late emperor's brother, engineered a coup several months after Emperor Zhifang died, and they executed 3 of the 8 Regency Council members put in place to rule. So they killed 3, but left 5 of them alive. And again, here's where some of the mythology comes in. Supposedly, Cixi left the other 5 alive as a way to show how magnanimous and you know, forgiving and all that stuff. So,
well, this is fairly standard, right? You always gotta get rid of the fucking advisors. They're gonna be problematic, and if not, like, this is entirely too many potential scheming viziers.
Right, but I will honestly say researching this was equivalent to me of when I was researching Thanksgiving.
Yeah. No, I agree. I saw the same, and depending on when the article I was reading was written, and what story they wanted to tell.
Right. And again, most of my articles were from 2002, so most of them were newer from my recollection while I was looking at them. But Cixi was support from Prince Gong and Cyan, the Emperor Zhangfang's wife. So Cyan and Cixi were the Dowager Empresses, and I'm imagining they were probably buddies, or somehow Cixi managed to get in good graces with her because they've been friendly enough, right? They've helped each other out on things. Cyan never said anything bad about her.
Actually, the mom of the emperor,
right? The Tepan Rebellion and the Nyan Rebellion were stopped with the 3 of them. Schools to study foreign languages were built. Modern customs services were implemented, and the first Chinese Foreign Services Office was installed. As her reign continued, China gained railways, electricity, telephones, telegraphs, Western medicine, as well as a more modern-style military. So they updated their navy, they updated their army.
And this is giving rise to huge sections of power.
In 1873, when Cixi's son, now known as Emperor Zai, came of age, Cixi continued to control the government of China. In 1875, Tongzi died suddenly. This led Cixi to adopt her 3-year-old nephew, Zai.
Good move.
Zai Tian, and made him emperor. Made him Emperor Zhongyu. Zhongyu? Yeah. Next in line for the throne, Empress Dowager Xian, long-time ally of Cixi, Cixi passed away, leaving Cixi as sole regent until 1889. This is when Emperor Zhengyu came of age and Cixi retired. In 1898, Emperor Gangyu tried to implement modern reforms. Cixi believed these ideas to be too radical, and once again started a successful coup. After she revised the reforms and regained her regency. In 1908, Cixi became very ill. As her death loomed over her, it's said that she feared Emperor Gangyu would reverse her policies upon her death. Therefore, when he turned up dead, it was assumed Cixi had poisoned him. Later testing proved he died of arsenic poisoning, but again, this is nobody knows. Nobody knows if she did it, if somebody else did it.
It's easy to get poisoned.
It is still very much in contest what actually happened to him. As she slipped closer to death, Cixi named little Puyi, son of her nephew's brother, as next in line for the throne. She passed away the next day. Now, apparently her intent in this was to, when she got better, regain her control until he was old enough, which is what she's been doing, right? Yep. Putting babies in charge and then taking care of everything until they get old enough, then running them behind the screen, and then coming out and just straight up getting people out of her fucking way when there's a problem. So 4 years after Puyi took the throne of the Qing dynasty, officials forced him to abdicate, ending the Chinese imperial era. So she's also known for issuing an anti-foot binding edict in 1902, even though that was later reversed, probably after her death. She ruled behind the screens, as it's called, for 37 years. Now, the whole concept of that is that when these women are put into the Forbidden City, people can't see them. People can't enter that city. That is only for the concubines and concubine servants. No one else can enter. So she was just this woman just shrouded in mystery, and she would, whisper things through these screens.
Locked away in a tower, effectively.
Exactly, but she would whisper things through the screens to the whatever. And at one point, when her son was ruling, often it said that when people wanted to do things, they would just go straight to her instead of talking to the emperor himself, because she was the one in charge.
One of the things I saw and found interesting was that installing of her nephew was a violation of historical norms, because he wasn't from the next generation.
Exactly.
Which is an interesting rule to have when it comes to, oh damn, we need an heir, start casting around, and they had already used that generation's choice.
Yeah, so it should, technically, she should have picked someone from the next generation.
But, and that's a good rule, because that would have, gotten this chick out of power. Not saying she was bad, just, you can see why this rule was constructed, so as to, try and keep some level of the power stuck to the actual chair and not the people around it.
Right, and it's interesting because she's known for starting the modernization of China, but then we also see her revoking some of the excess modernization.
Well, and that's a fairly standard,
that.
history of what happens, because this is sort of, if you let the white devils, in the tent, they're coming all the way in.
Right, and in China to this day, she is still blamed for the fall of the Qing dynasty. And blamed for the fall of the empire as a whole, right? Yeah. They don't have emperors anymore. That's not a thing.
Well, and the general she made common cause with early on, when she was executing the advisors.
Prince Gong, yeah.
Yep. She later stripped him of power, or made attempts to.
Yeah, he went against her in some manner, and she said, fuck that noise.
No, and this was an incredibly complicated table. There's a lot of different parties at play. The railroads are going through crazy places. This is...
For me, some of what made it hard to follow is a lot of the names, because they're so foreign to us as English speakers, that it can be difficult to wait, who is that again? I have to scroll back
Yeah.
and be, oh, okay.
You don't
And then
generate as finely, right?
so
fanciful.
so when they're
details.
bringing up 5 or 6 different names of people and you have to look up each one, it not only slows you down, but it makes you wait, who's the first one again? Like,
which one of them was doing what to who now?
Yeah, so what I really wish I could have had time to do is actually sit down and take notes of like a timeline. So just have one list of just names of everybody, right?
Yeah.
One list of
And just
dates
mark in the shit as it
things
happened
that were
once
happening.
You kind of got your list of players,
and then
sorted.
just start organizing it. But again, I just find her and all the stories surrounding her extremely fascinating. I've been researching this for like a week now, on and off, in my free time, randomly reading an article here, then taking a break from it, going back, reading 2 more articles, being like, what the fuck? What I was really hoping to do was stumble across at least 2 articles that said like the same thing, which really, no.
Yeah.
No 2 articles are exactly the same, so I kind of hit the high points that each article I read did speak about, which were the main points that I just stated.
No, that's why I locked onto the details about the executions, and not the fact that she universally condemned the executing of the families. And again, it's one of those. The problem is at the end of dynasties, especially, but really one of the bad things about royalty as a structure is, you're going to get whatever stories you goddamn need. Because if everyone just works for the boss family, then they're still going to be the boss family. It doesn't matter how good or bad they are until they suddenly aren't.
Right.
So.
I also want to mention that in China, I actually don't know where this was started. Maybe in a newspaper. It might have been in the New York Times. I vaguely don't remember. But anyway, she's called the Dragon Lady.
Yep.
That is one of the nicknames for her, which is intriguing because, she hoarded her power. That's what she had.
She supervised at least 2 successful rebellions.
Oh yeah,
and that's about as complicated as going from one motorcycle to another at highway speed. Like, fuck off.
Yeah,
that's impressive for a lady who probably gets thrown out with the first government, however this goes.
And when she was having that argument with Prince Zhang, she was hiding, in the Forbidden City with her friend, and they managed to stay away from this guy, but he like cut off the water and the food, and she's like, fuck you, not coming out. Yeah. You go kill him now. Like, it's just impressive.
No,
it's just really
Christian missionaries in there being disruptive. This is an incredibly turbulent time, and to have had a reign that lasted that long,
37 years. Yeah. And that's of her in charge, because she was in for 50 years.
Yeah.
She was in this whole mess. So 37 of those 50 years, she was aggressively in charge of the whole thing.
No, that is fabulous. I'm glad I'm sorry BoomerRex missed that. I hope he listens to the show.
Oh, we'll have to make him
feel better, stupid.
Yeah, no. This was just absolutely fascinating. I'm glad I was able to share it with you all. And again, if you're curious, do your own research. And remember, next time, go comment, like, subscribe, do all the things. If you want us to research someone in history, give us a name. I'll
make
look
up
up
names, so she has to look up people that don't exist.
Oh my god, I hate you. Don't fucking do that. So don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, heart, follow, review. Go to BoomerRexTonight, no spaces, on Facebook for fun memes and a link to our Patreon. Give us $1. You can find us on YouTube as BoomerRex. Or check your favorite podcasting service for BoomerRexTonight. We can be found on over a dozen different platforms, including Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Samsung Podcasts. And hit us up on Twitter at BRexTonight.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a few days off.
Lame. No, don't let him do it. Internet.
Things have been pretty crazy. So we will be back, no matter the circumstances, on Monday with just the news.
Slap him deaf.
So we love you all, and we'll see you back here on Monday for BoomerRexTonight.